whatever subject we're doing right then. Like, right, I just left, and we were doing dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are so cool because they change, they morph all through the 3 different periods of dinosaurs. So I'm a geek. I like anything. I can take words apart, and I think that's fun. I don't have any kids, but I do have 13 alpaca and 10 goats and a bunch of chickens, and my dogs are my babies. So I just kind of hang out with my babies. All right, Ms. Nancy Lou.
I am Lindsay Fricky, and this is my 9th year teaching, but my first one at GBS. I also have some experience in 2nd grade too, but 1st grade is really the year that I love teaching the most. There's so much growth, and the kids just absorb everything like sponges, and it's awesome to see. I've coached here for a couple years, 3 I think, a few sports, and I have a little 3-year-old and a couple dogs too. Yeah,
Or animal.
that's me. That's me. So your almost first graders, are they your oldest, youngest, only?
Only for me.
Only?
Middle.
Okay.
Oldest.
Oldest.
I mean, youngest.
Youngest, also a little bit of everything.
Yay.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I guess you didn't
So
need the
far,
introduction.
Youngest?
Yes. I've seen this in
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start talking about some of the overall views of 1st grade. We look at 1st grade as a year of building and gaining and encouraging independence. They have a question of the morning when they come in. It's like what your question had. It goes along with our responsive classroom curriculum that we use. It's a question, and it can be a math review. At the beginning of the year, it's all get acquainted questions like tally, if you have a brother, tally, if you have a sister, what's your eye color, how many boys are in the class, how many girls are in the class. It's a cool way to kind of gauge get to know what everybody's doing. So I see in here we have a lot of people like my boys who liked PE the most. I put that on there just to see. This 1st grade builds a lot upon what kindergarten did, and that we still have the cubbies, but we expect them after the first couple days to be able to come in independently and put their things away. We have a morning routine of washing hands, telling us how you're getting home. At the end of the day, some of them have morning jobs that kind of rotates. The biggest change, and when they come up to visit, they're like, ooh, we have desks, and desks are really, really cool. We use these desks as a wonderful learning opportunity. We have folders for our main subjects, our reading, writing, math, and science, and they're different, they're color-coded. So this is our first attempt at trying to instill some organizational skills. So that's always fun. And we work throughout the year on cleaning out a desk and what should your desk look like. And usually by the middle of the year, most people are really good at putting the papers in the folders that they should go and being able to get them out. So we're always trying to foster and build that independence. It's a year that you have more choices, maybe. Sometimes we don't have centers, which upsets everybody at the first few days of school, but we get over that. But we have choices that are built into our reading program where they have choices of what they want to write, and their different writing topics. We have choices through IXL on how you choose to practice your math. So we're teaching all of these choices as learning tools. How do you learn the best? So it's kind of an exciting year because you do kind of see them once they settle into their routine in the morning, go, yes, I got everything done. And as I said, we begin the day with morning meeting, and it's a time to really build community. And on Mondays, we always talk about one thing you did on the weekend. What was your favorite thing you did? So, and a lot of them went to 2 different birthday parties, so we had some really cool discussions about that. And we shake hands, so I would say, good morning, Miss Fricky. I hope you have a good day, or we decide on the greeting, and then she would say it back. And so we're practicing those social skills of looking in the eyes, being able to pronounce your words so everybody can hear them, not being silly. And by the time everybody has left the rug, they've heard their name in a positive manner 2 or 3 times every morning. So it's a wonderful way to start the day, and then in the afternoon, we'll usually meet up for just a couple of minutes to kind of assess how the day went and see what we need to do differently tomorrow. We also use both of us use the calendar. We have a big calendar in the room, and we use it it integrates with math and our social studies because it always has some weird, or science, it always has some strange fact, like, you know, a giraffe's tongue is like 36 inches long, and we have to get out the yardstick. So we try to begin the day as a group, and then we go off and go into different subjects. And you're going to talk about math.
Yeah, I'll start with different subjects. We'll do math first. The curriculum we use for math is Trailblazers. It's a book. But in the book there are hands-on activities, there's group activities, individual activities. Manipulatives are used all the time, especially in introducing new topics. And so it's not just we're flipping the page and on to the next page and writing it. There's a lot of talking about it, how do you know, a little bit deeper thinking into math, which at the beginning is like, well, I just know it. I know what 2 + 2 is, but like thinking about it really gets them to slow down and understand the concepts of math. Some of the main concepts we do, graphing, grouping, identifying and naming 2D shapes. We do money, measuring, patterns, addition, and then later on in the year we include subtraction using multiple strategies for problem solving. So we do a lot of fun stuff, but Trailblazers is the curriculum that we go by for that in first grade. Anything to add from that one?
Do you have any questions about math?
Yeah, stop us at any point if
We're in first grade.
Yeah.
We're used to learning. We can do that. I'll talk about the reading and the phonics. I'll have to start with phonics. I love Orton Gillingham. We both know a lot about Orton Gillingham. Orton Gillingham is a multi-sensory approach. It's trying to develop as many pathways to your brain through feeling it, through writing it out, through seeing it. We always try to use 2 or 3 different modalities to get those sounds in. And we build on what they learned in first grade. They learn the beginning sounds and short vowels, and some of them learn long vowels, and we pick up from there and we go to the multiple long vowel spellings, the vowel teams. Right now, a lot of us are working on how to divide words into syllables because the word kitten, because the vowels are closed, they're in between 2 consonants, they're still going to be short. It's all about what the vowel says. Consonants are pretty cool, but the vowels are the ones you throw monkey wrenches in. So we are working on those. Our spelling goes along with the sound, or the sounds that we're working on during the week. So they have a spelling test every week, but the words should be completely decodable. They are able to sound them out, except for we have challenge words. But we did really well with die, no, soar last week. So I love the way that the reading and the phonics combine. Some kids can just kind of learn to read, and they just seem to be wired for reading, but they don't always know why sound makes the sound it does. And it's important to know the different little phonemic rules, because when you get into multi-syllable words, you're going to, if you follow those rules, you can break apart words. We had responsibility, and so we've had some longer words where they had to go back and, we're going to divide it between the consonant and the vowel is still close. So I love the phonics. It's just one of my favorite parts. And then that kind of rolls on into our readers workshop. And we are using a new program, Readers Workshop, this year. And its goal is to build independent readers. And a lot of ours are, the first things that we work on are readers build good habits. So each person has a crate, and we have pre-assessed and we have leveled all the books in the room. And so they can choose books. We change them out about once a week. They can choose, like Francis can choose from the brown level books. And we keep these books for a week or so for a reason. They read through them, and they have a reader's mat, and they decide if they're going to stack their books. So you usually stack it, but they have a book that's kind of like an easy book, so polar bears would be rather easy. And then you warm up and do a couple of just rights, and then you'll have your challenge book. And you read them, and at the end of, after you have read them, we learned that good readers don't just read a book and plop it down. They do several different things. They can go back and retell it. They can go back and find their favorite parts of the book. And they can think about how this book reminds them of another book. And a lot of times and when we're reading nonfiction, they'll have a sticky note and they can put it on their favorite fact in that book. And at the end of reading, we have pair share. So they can read the part of their book that they liked and their fact, and they'll get to hear what their buddy's favorite fact was. So we really, and that once we have gotten into the reading, we pull small groups, we individualize, and if there's someone who is ready to start reading beginning chapter books, in a small group, they will start reading beginning chapter books, and they will learn tools for reading chapter books. How you stop at the end of each chapter and tell a couple of things that happened, remember the characters, remember the setting. If there's still some that need to work on decodables, they still don't have that sound symbol really strong, they will be working with some different books in the back in small groups. Then at the end, they all get to have free read, and they can read whatever they would like from their crates. The other thing, it seems like this is not a lot of books. We talk about how readers reread, and one of the reasons we reread is to build our fluency. And they know what fluency is, and how we stop it. We need to be sure we're stopping at periods. There's a phrase, read it like you wrote it. So you know every word, and it just flows, and it's smooth, and it's a lot of fun. And then when we're reading, when we're doing some of the chapter books, we'll run off just one page and we'll talk about how the quotes, and then go read it with your buddy and see if you can make your voices sound like you think that character would sound. So there are a lot of reading, the characteristics of good readers that we read and practice, and we practice these all year long and build on them. The second bit is reading nonfiction, and how is reading nonfiction different? You look at the pictures first, you read the captions first, you think of your prior knowledge, what do you already know? Then after you read a couple pages, stop and pause for a second. What'd you learn? And when we're reading this in a group, we'll stop. Okay, what'd you learn? What'd you learn? And it's okay if you've learned the same thing. But we're getting across the fact that you self-monitor. We call it metacognition, thinking about your thinking. You self-monitor and say, did I get that, or do I need to go back and reread that whole page because I just didn't get a thing? So we try to instill that confidence that they can do this, and yeah, they're going to make mistakes, and sometimes they're tired, and they're reading it, and I'm like, ooh, you didn't read it like you wrote it, and they're like, you're right, so we'll go back. But we are really enjoying this new reading program, and we've had I feel like we've had a lot of success. We're seeing a lot of growth with it in the room.
One of the things I was going to add too, if you don't mind, these get added on, we start our unit with the title, and we talk about this is what we're going to be talking about, and each day there's a mini lesson that goes along with it, and we teach how it's supposed to sound or what the skill is, and then they're going and practicing it on their own, and then having a chance to show it off to their partner. So it's one skill per day that they can really, really get good at. And then by the end of it, it's like, wow, I can do all of these things, and I didn't even realize that I was able to be this awesome reader and build these good habits. But at the end, they're like, whoa, I totally rocked that. So it really, piece by piece, adds on, and it's a very cool method.
They're so cool when they stop and they do something like the sounds didn't match up with the words. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you know what you just did? And they're like, no. And you tell them, and they're like, oh!
And the way they speak to each other, partners work together. That's one of our first, they kind of go simultaneously at the beginning, these two. But when they're learning how to be a good partner, you take one of these each day and step by step, and the conversations they're having are so real and useful, and they're really teaching each other too. So that's a really, really great aspect of it.
It is.
It is. Anything you want to add about reading?
I think that's it.
All right, that moves into writing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
on the reading, do they get to still bring home books?
Oh,
Like
yes,
Riley
they
likes
do.
that, like,
Yes,
just
yes,
3
yes.
books coming home.
Right, they do, and we try to pick them, in our room, Mrs. Pingleton works with them to pick ones that are just right.
Okay.
They're just right to a little bit easier. It's real easy to want to read something that's a bit harder, to have your child want to do that, that does not build fluency at all. And sometimes it breeds a little bit of frustration. So the books that they take home, yeah, they do get to take home books. And we can just talk about that for a second. Reading is a big part of our homework. That is our basic homework. We have an IXL program that you can do do some math things with. And when we say reading, we don't just mean hand them a book and there you go. I mean, it's like reading with them. You read a page, I'll read a page, or peruse it first and then have them read it and tell it to you. Because these skills need to be practiced and practiced and practiced. So it is fun to read at home.
Good question. Oh, no, that's good. Writing. We are also using aspects of Writer's Workshop in our writing, but the main focus in first grade, we're building understanding of what a thought is, where do we end a sentence, how is this a complete thought, and putting it in order. Capitalization, punctuation, temporary spelling, meaning that we're using our spelling concepts that we're learning about, but we're starting to apply them into our spelling, and writing. We have handwriting without tears that, do they do in kindergarten? I thought you guys were familiar with that. So we build on what they already know there to practice the handwriting and the form writing. We do nonfiction and fiction writing, or writing about small moments. That's what we start the year with, really what their experiences are, because they can connect to that, and they have a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Go. Yep, you're good.
When we're working on the small moments, it starts really early. It's something that's happened to them. And you model it. Like this morning, I got up and I went to the barn, and one of my dogs was running away and I had to go get her. So I got her in and I got to school a little bit late because she was running around. Well, that has a beginning, it has a middle, and an end. So if I was going to write that story, and Lindsay and I were partners, I would be telling her that. And she might say, well, okay, so tell me more about the dog. So I would know to add, Aspen, my really big white dog, ran away. And so they tell the story. They practice telling the story to their partner before they practice writing it, and that makes a huge difference. It's not like it's just 3 sentences. It's really fun.
Yes, and what we use for writing, each student has their own writing folder, and inside we have COPS. They all have a little signal on their desks too, a stop sign, and it stands for capitalization, order, so putting your story or whatever it may be in order, punctuation, and spelling. And they have resources in here to help them with words that they should know, or sight words, familiar words, and they can add as the year goes on. So in some of these, there's people that are adding ones every day, and when they learn how to spell a word, they're adding, new ones in. So they keep this in their desk, they use it all the time. It really becomes their little secondhand man. And as they write and go through editing process and things like that, it's kept in here so that it's all in one place. And there are times, we were just talking about this, there are times where this looks like a mess, but that's okay because they're editing and going through the process and really turning it into something great. So.
The cool thing that they use with this about editing, it's not like you have to rewrite it again. You can cut the paper apart and add a sentence and then tape it together. So you still get you get a longer, more detailed story, but you're not writing it like 3 times. They're like, yeah, I have to add a sentence, and I was like, yes, but just look at how it is. So you get these papers that some of them are really long and
cut, staple, back together.
But they can read it, and it's fun.
Yeah. Do you want to take science next? Any questions about writing?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, science may be long.
I was going to say,
we're working on that. Our science units are really amazing in first grade. They fit with their learning, with what their interests a lot. We start out at the beginning of the year with butterflies and insects, and of course it's it's a great time to go out and look for insects. And then when October rolls around, we do arachnids, and we do the comparing and contrasting of insects and arachnids to pull in that higher level thinking. Then we go into the solar system, which will be one of your favorites because that's our first family project, and toward the end of, and it is a family project, so you don't have to, you don't have to do it all, they don't do it all. You get to pick one thing in the in space you like. This year we had we had a black hole. A lot of people pick their favorite planets because they like to paint their favorite planets. We had a couple of rocket ships. And you make this together at home, and they come in and present it to their classmates, and you guys get to come and listen. And they really are proud of what they have learned. And it's everybody claps, and they take a couple of questions. So that's kind of a fun experience, and they do it really well. Then we kind of roll into dinosaurs, which is what we are in now. And we're, now that we've reached this point in the year, they can read more. They have the ability to read more. So we break down the dinosaurs into 3 different periods. And this is one we have just done today. It's the Megalosaurus.
We use our phonics too.
I really use because
These
let me
dinosaurs.
just say, but this one we can tell because it's red. It was a carnivore, and it would have been a fairly big dinosaur because we do it on scale so 1 foot equals 1 inch. So it's really cool. During the Triassic period, the dinosaurs were way teeny little fellas, and then they just they get bigger during the Jurassic period and on into the Cretaceous period. So sometimes we work in partners, sometimes we work by ourselves, but they come up with 3 or 4 facts, and they present them, and then we have a big dinosaur board that you can see how dinosaurs have just kind of changed across time. And it's so cool because when I was little, there were 3 dinosaurs, and they thought all those big sauropods had to stay in water because they knew they couldn't walk on land as big as they were. And now they're starting to put feathers on a lot more dinosaurs. And so that's just really cool. Then we move on to the different classifications: reptiles, amphibians, birds, and fish. And we have our big fishing trip where we go to Lake Higgins, and they talk about all the animals that are native to North Carolina. And we actually get to go fish some. And the majority of our field trips are tied in with our science curriculum. We go to Olive Flutter with butterflies, and you get these really cute pictures with butterflies all over them. We go to the Science Center to see the little star that could for the solar system. We went to see a program on dinosaurs. And so our field trips all except we go to see a play once a year, and usually it's when's Dr. Seuss's birthday? March. Usually we go see the Dr. Seuss play because we're reading all the books that Dr. Seuss wrote in that period. And toward the end of the year, you will have a second family project, and they get to pick any animal of any classification that they like, and they get to present it to the class. And that's our science project. It works so well with, we have a lot of different books at different levels that we can use to pull out information. And now with the iPads, we make them read first, and then they go on and they reading some more on the iPads, but there's lots of other stuff in there too. It's fun. Some of the movies are actually really cool to see how they think dinosaurs moved. So they're starting to become a little more independent in being able to do some research. So it's cool. I'm done. It's your turn.
Next we'll talk about second step, which to me this is something that is really awesome. The emotional growth that we focus on here, not just academic growth, is something that blows me away all the time because coming from other schools. And so second step is a program that has 4 main topics in first grade, and it's really we're really learning empathy in first grade. They start with I, like how do I feel, how am I feeling, recognizing their emotions, and it moves into others. recognizing your facial expression, your body language, what's that telling me? Are you mad at me? Should I go and play with you? You know, things like that. Really recognizing that. And then they move into understanding what these feelings mean. So you're feeling that way, oh, I recognize that feeling. Recognizing it in myself and how to handle it. I'm frustrated because I can't write this sentence, or I'm frustrated because I can't read this word. How can I work on that? How can I express those feelings? And when working out relationship problems or friendship problems, things like that. And then it moves into problem solving, where they're ready to really hear, like, okay, so if you're feeling this way, I'm feeling this way, how can we solve this problem? And it's amazing the things that they take out onto the playground from 3 weeks ago when they heard it in second step. It's pretty amazing, and it's great that they can really begin to show the empathy towards others and empathize with others, which some adults have a hard time with. So, you know,
Yes.
it amazes me. So, anything you want to add about that? Questions?
The kids enjoy it.
Kids do.
Because it's
And there's
got
a
some
little
role
puppet
playing in it.
That they role play.
Right.
They enjoy that.
They do. Questions? Come on, I can think of a question.
No?
So our older one had Miss Hopkins, and a couple, it was last week, Angela came up and she has these real strong little fingers, and she came up right on my neck and started doing this, and I'm like, oh honey, I said, that is the best thing ever you learned in first grade.
Wait a minute.
That was the wrong question.
Just an observation. That's going to help you for life.
Harper's going to have this.
We do love those little back massages every now and then. It does make you feel so much more relaxed.
Just a show of hands, how many have had a first grader before? I think it's about half of you. Yeah. I think to some degree these women are selling first grade a little bit short because as I have a ninth grader now, first grade is one of the most memorable years just because so much is happening in their cognitive growth. And their ability to be independent. I don't know, some of you may be sitting here thinking like I was, well, my child's not quite reading that. I don't know how she's not going to read those books. And she did, and then some, because the motivation that you all really instill in these children when they can access information on their own, learn on their own, and grow on their own is pretty remarkable. And I have lunch with all of the children throughout the year, and invariably in first grade when I ask, what is your favorite part about first grade? It is not PE, it is not art, it is not recess, it is not lunch, it is reading, writing, and math. Every single year. And they really, you know, it's remarkable that young children will say that, but it is true because they have become so independent and they feel like they're owning their own learning. It's pretty remarkable.
It's fun to see when
It is. It's a fun year.
It really is.
One of the things too, one of my most favorite times, we have Genius Hour, which really instills and motivates and encourages their independence and choice making. They get to pick any topic of their choosing. We had a group just a little while ago doing fashion design, and they get to choose anything that their little heart desires and research. We get the books from the library, maybe some articles, something that applies, and they're reading the books, finding the facts, talking about why they want to learn this, asking questions about it, and then actually doing their research, finding facts. We're up to finding 7 facts about their topic, and then they get to present it in whatever way they choose. There's some technology apps that we use that they can do pic collages and put in some information there. They can build out of model magic and present, make posters, they can do it with a partner. It's really just their way of expressing, here's what I learned, here's what I want to learn, first of all, here's what I learned, and here's how I'm going to teach it to you. And one spark goes from, oh yeah, somebody was presenting about fashion design, and they mentioned ballet, and somebody's like, oh, in the middle of it, was like, oh, I think I want to study that next. And sure enough, now we have a couple studying ballet, and there's one that's studying a topic and 5 that are studying here, and it's really their own time at their own pace, and it's really, really a great time to see their personalities and their love for whatever they're learning come out. So that's a lot of fun.
You're right about personalities. I learned so much about cats that year. But it was nice because it motivated Becca to do it, but then she also could pull in the art, which was where her passion was,
Yes.
to be able to create, to really support what she was wanting.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much they want to learn when they can tie it into, ooh, I'm so excited, I'm gonna get to use this app to present it, or I'm gonna read this book about football. I had a huge group of football. We're big into football this year in my class, and so am I, so I really encourage that. But they were learning that it came from rugby and like the history of football, and they're like, whoa, and parents are coming in like, what do you teach? I'm like, that's Genius Hour, they're learning it on their own. They're like, wow, okay. So it really brings out their personalities and gives them ownership over their learning, which I love. Anything else?
I'm going to be asked how many times you get to go outside every day.
That's a great question. We go out twice.
Unless the one
That's
is
a good point.
really cold.
If it would have been cut to 1.
Yes, it's a problem.
Oh, no,
Yes,
no.
yeah.
We go after morning snack and at lunch.
Okay.
Except if we
Good
win,
question.
if we win one of those spirit things, and then we go out again at the end of the day. Yes, we go, no.
And you touched on homework, and a lot of it is reading. I guess, what's the expectation in terms of amount of time, or are there also worksheets, or can you give us a better understanding of homework?
A good rule is 10 minutes per grade level, so it's at the minimum, reading 10 minutes. They have a book folder that comes home with a book in it. And they are expected to, it's at their reading level, they're expected to read that. But we would like the parents, we send home at the beginning of the year, here's some questions you can do, like who is the main character, what would you have done differently in that story, trying to pull in some of that higher level thinking. Certainly if they want to read more than 10 minutes, that is great. You'll need to to go over spelling a couple of times, and these are all decodable, so help them out and then out. And then we have the IXL programs, and often in our newsletters we'll put in like on IXL C4, 5, 6, 7. Those go along with what we're doing in math today. So that's it sounds like it's just reading, but it's not just reading. This is the year to really build that firm foundation, and it takes a lot of repetition. I mean, doing the vowel cards, OA says A, and they say OA says A. Well, by the end of the year, I feel like if I have to do another one of those, I'm going to die. But in the past, every once in a while, I'll kind of slack off and not do it as much. And you can tell the automaticity goes, and when they're sounding out a word, they're having to stop and think, okay, what makes that sound? So they just need so much more repetition than we really realize to just develop that automaticity and get them flowing.
Oh, my daughter's one of those that actually likes the worksheets and stuff.
Okay.
So right now, yeah, she's not an anti-homework, she actually wants it.
They tend to. Like, well, can we?
Yeah. So yeah, if there is an A, she's like, Mom, can you make some for me? And I'm like, okay.
But what would be a cool thing would be to have her write, a sentence about, what did you like what's your favorite part about this book? Why did you like this book?
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay if you didn't like this book. What didn't you like about this book?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, the storyline's kind of, Now, if they're in phonetic readers, they're disposable. We run them off and we highlight the sound we're working on. I do ask that they get read 3 times a night, and we put 3 little boxes on it because we are really working on developing the sound symbol connection with those different sounds. Like I've got one group tonight, they were working with G-E, G-I, G-Y, saying the J sound. So we had to go through and just do G-E, G-I, G-Y because they had some other G words in there. So, and then we decided to get really great because we're really working on syllables, and they were like, I know where you'd break that word. I know where you'd break that word. So we had to put our little dots in there. So but having them write about what they like, having them, do they like this author? Would you like more books? You know, if it's, I shouldn't say her name, Junie B. Jones. If you like her, why would you like, they can write a note to Miss Pingleton, I'd like more of these because I think she's funny.
How would you change the ending? How would you?
Would you say a new book goes home every night? So like right now, we get a folder, what, weekly?
Yes.
So we read those particular books per week, so how
They come
does
back.
that kinda work?
It's, if you have, or if your child is reading in a chapter book, we don't expect that one night. You know, like a chapter per night, and then you can start the next night. Can we remember what happened in that? Because that's a really big chapter book skill. If it's a shorter book, they can bring it back. You're doing, yeah. They can bring it back and they're changed out that day.
Okay. Mine are pretty much, they take 3 books. They can take up to 3 books at a time, and they're coming back as soon as they're ready. And the kids get really good, and that's part of their morning routine. They come in, if they read one of them and want to train it out, they just bring that one back. Like she was talking about, if they're doing some of the more decodable things, that's separate, and that might go in there as well. But they're really choosing from their own book levels, what they want to choose, how often they want to choose it. Some kids come in every day and they're reading about 3 every night, and others are taking little notes, others are in chapter books. So,
But I would just say we can tell after about 3 or 4 weeks who's reading every night and who's not. Even the
We'll
envelopes
forewarn you.
in or
We're
not.
design once a week now.
We know.
the kids, I will say, we have checked things that the kids check them off, and really after the first round of it, we do about a month at a time. The kids are marking how many books they're reading, and so then it's
Yes.
like, oh, it's almost independent for many of them. Like, okay, I can check it off. I read this book, and really all you're providing is some conversation or feedback about the book or asking questions, following up, and sometimes helping with decoding. That's all we've got for you. If you guys don't have questions. We're excited for that.
Volunteering, that's still okay to come in and do things in the class?
There's a lot of opportunities.
Okay.
Reading buddies in the mornings. Genius Hour. You can be a part of that.
We
You
love
guys love
Genius
that.
Hour.
Yeah, some of the field trips. Yeah.
Do you love to do volunteers for some of the special classes? Or is that stuff?
No.
Yes.
That's-
Technology still has one. But I think technology might be the only one
Right.
requested in first grade.
More science.
I know that's different.
But you know what?
But that might change. I mean, if you're offering
If you're
up.
really interested in that, I'm sure she would love to have an extra set of hands.
Yeah.
It's just not something that we put down. Just need Genius Hour.
So reading buddies, Genius Hour,
That's fine.
technology, computer.
Right. And then parties.
We like to party.
We do love to party.
Well, thank you guys for coming. We're excited for your sweet ones.